Chosen one, pay attention. The scroll of heaven is open, and your name is on it. You didn't stumble here. You were drawn here because something critical is unfolding in the spirit realm. Right now, these next 48 hours are not regular time. They are sacred. The clock has become a spiritual weapon, and every tick is weighted with purpose, consequence, and eternal significance. This is not content. This is a command. You have felt it rising in your chest lately, that strange urgency that you can't quite explain, that pressing in your spirit, the invisible pressure surrounding your thoughts. It's not anxiety. It's not burnout. It's a signal, a divine alert that something unseen is shifting quickly. That alert is not to scare you. It's to awaken you, because heaven is moving, and you must not be spiritually asleep when the trumpet sounds. Chosen one, you are in the middle of a holy collision. Destiny is clashing with delay. Purpose is confronting passivity, and your obedience is standing trial in the courts of heaven. What you do in the next 2 days matters. The instructions you follow, the choices you make, the distractions you resist, they are all under prophetic review. This is not about hype. This is about heaven. You've been sensing that something's off. Things feel unusually heavy. Conversations feel strangely tense. And your emotions feel like they're being pulled in 10 different directions. That's not random. That's the weight of a spiritual war you can't see, but are absolutely involved in. You've been marked, and now both darkness and light are circling your name. These next 48 hours are not like any other. This is not a normal cycle of your life. You are standing in a kairos moment, a divine interruption in your timeline where everything shifts, accelerates, and exposes. God is about to reveal things that were hidden and close doors that were secretly draining you. But you must be armed. Your spirit must be alert. Because the enemy is not showing up with pitchforks and red horns. He's showing up in distractions, in fake alignments, in invitations that seem like blessings but are actually battles in disguise. If you are not spiritually armed, you will mistake warfare for favor. You will call delay a pause when it's really a prison. This is why you must listen carefully. You are not safe if you are passive. Chosen one. This word is a warning, but also a weapon. If you grab hold of what's being spoken, you won't just survive these next 48 hours, you'll conquer them. You will walk out of them with clarity, closure, and divine commissioning. But hesitation will cost you. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. There are conversations you need to cut short. There are habits that must be broken by sundown. There are messages you shouldn't respond to. There are thoughts you must arrest immediately. The next 2 days are a test, and like all divine tests, they are closed book, no second chances, no do-overs. What you decide will echo in the months to come, and this is not a solo battle. Heaven is with you. The Spirit is near, but God will not force your obedience. He will only confirm your surrender, as written by the psalmist in the Holy Scriptures, from the book of Psalms, chapter 144, verse 1. Praise be to the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. You were not created to fold. You were trained to fight. You were prepared in the secret place for this very hour. Every tear, every storm, every betrayal. It built the armor you're wearing now. But armor is useless if you refuse to stand. Stand now. The call is urgent. but your spirit is ready. You are not confused. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are awakened. And the time to act is not tomorrow, it is now. If this word is confronting something in you, don't run from it. Run into it. It means the Spirit is stirring, and your assignment is being activated. Type in the comments now, 444, as a prophetic act that you recognize the divine order unfolding before your eyes. The number of spiritual alignment and protection, the signal that you are stepping under the covering of God's direction. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now. Stay connected to the voice that sharpens your spirit. Like this message, share it. Someone connected to you is also in their 48-hour window, and they won't make it unless someone sounds the alarm. Heaven has spoken. Hell has heard it. Now it's your move. You must be armored. Spiritually armed, not with fear, but with clarity. Not with assumptions, but with discernment. Because what's coming in the next 48 hours isn't confusion by accident, it's warfare by design. Chosen one. The realm of darkness has studied your patterns. The enemy has tracked what triggers you, what slows you, what distracts you. He doesn't need to destroy you if he can disarm you. He doesn't need to attack everything, just the one thing you refuse to guard. And that one thing, for many, is the Spirit. You walk around covered in intelligence, experience, ambition, but if your spirit is uncovered, the enemy has access. He will launch arrows not at your reputation, but at your discernment. He will dress deception in the language of peace. He will offer you counterfeit timing that looks like alignment, but moves you one step off course. Because the moment you're off course, you're out of rhythm with heaven. That's how precise this war is. This is not a season where you can afford to rely on logic alone. You are chosen, therefore your warfare is not natural. The attack is customized, and so must be your armor. The devil is not coming for your money, he's coming for your movement. If he can slow you spiritually, you'll miss divine appointments. If he can cloud your perception, you'll mislabel attacks as blessings and distractions as destiny. And so your spirit must be dressed daily. Your thoughts covered by the helmet of salvation reminding you who you are. Your heart protected by the breastplate of righteousness, so emotions don't rewrite the truth. Your steps ordered by the gospel of peace, so chaos doesn't drive you. Your soul gripped tightly around the shield of faith, so that every arrow of fear is blocked before it pierces. And in your grip, the sword of the Spirit, the Word of God, not for defense only, but for war. This is the battle posture of the chosen. The warfare in this window won't be obvious. It won't come with warning signs and lightning bolts. It will come softly, as tiredness, as overthinking, as unexplained heaviness, as distractions packaged in kindness, as advice wrapped in spiritual language but void of the Spirit's breath. And if you are not armored, you will absorb what you were meant to deflect. You will carry what was meant to be cast down. This is why the word is not a suggestion, it's your sword. Not a decoration, not a quote for your page. A weapon, alive, active, sharper than anything the enemy can throw at you. But a sword unused is a sword wasted. So speak, pray, declare, fight. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are aligned, because your spirit irritates darkness, because your very presence disturbs what hell has been trying to build around you. And the enemy fears that you're finally waking up. He fears that you are becoming dangerous to every plan that's been working while you've been silent. Dangerous to patterns you used to excuse. Dangerous to cycles you used to tolerate. He's scared because he senses that you're beginning to armor up. And when the chosen armor up, strongholds come down. But you must not hesitate, because the attack has already begun. It's not coming next week. It's here now, in whispers, in delays. In moments you were meant to be praying, but instead felt distracted. That wasn't random. That was warfare. But now you see it. Now you know. Now you move differently. You guard your time. You silence the noise. You cancel every invitation that doesn't carry God's sound. You test every voice, not by emotion, but by truth. You watch who you let pray over you. You listen not to tone, but to spirit. You are not paranoid. You are prepared. Scripture speaks boldly in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. You've been trained in the silence, trained in the secret place, trained in the storm, and now it's time to move like it. No more apologies for your edge. You're not hard, you're sharpened. You're not distant, you're discerning. And in this hour, softness in the spirit is not love, it's vulnerability to deception. You are being called into spiritual alertness. No more unguarded days. No more casual scrolling. No more treating every voice as equal. This is war, and the battlefield is invisible but very real. And you, chosen one, were born for such a time as this. Stand armed. Stand ready. Because when you are armored in the Spirit, even hell has to think twice. You've felt it in your bones. The pressure, the tension, the weight in the air that you can't explain. It's not a mood. It's not burnout. It's not your mind playing tricks on you. It's the Holy Spirit alerting your inner man. Something is shifting. Your body can feel when heaven is about to speak. Your emotions sense when battles are being stirred in the invisible realm. Your bones ache not because of physical stress, but because your spirit is being pulled into divine alignment. That restlessness you've been brushing off, that's not anxiety, it's prophecy trying to rise. You've been feeling like something is coming. And you're right. You're on the edge of something spiritual that has no words yet. God hasn't revealed it fully, but your spirit has already registered the tremor. In the days of old, the prophets used to say, "The hand of the Lord came upon me." And that phrase described not a soft moment, but a spiritual force so intense it disrupted their flesh. They felt the burden of glory, the weight of God's nearness, and the fire of urgency in their bones. And that's where you are now. You can't relax. You can't blend in. You can't numb yourself with scrolling, because deep down, you know, something is about to break. And before it does, God is waking you up spirit first. You don't need another confirmation. Your confirmation is the very fire that's been stirring inside you. That sudden weeping when you pray. That impulse to fast out of nowhere. That strange shaking in your chest at 3 a.m. Those aren't random. That's your spiritual radar tuning in. It is written through the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 20, verse 9. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. You weren't designed to live numb. You were created to feel deeply, spiritually, urgently. Because you're not just here to receive prophecy, you are part of the prophecy. Chosen one. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is warfare training. And the enemy has been trying to convince you that you're too emotional, too intense, too much. But those are lies from the pit, because your intensity is a sign of your assignment. God doesn't stir what He's not about to release. You've been marked by the stirrings of heaven. And here's what the enemy fears: that you'll finally believe what you feel is real. That you'll finally stop brushing off that fire in your chest. That you'll stop trying to numb it with distraction. Because the moment you agree with heaven, the moment you say yes to the weight you carry, is the moment your atmosphere starts to bow. What's been stirring inside you is not for your entertainment. It's for activation. That pressure has a purpose. That burden has an assignment. And the next 48 hours are a portal. You either step in fully or you risk missing what's been tailored for you in this window. Don't wait for confirmation when your spirit is already burning. Don't ask for signs when the fire is already shut up in your bones. You don't need more proof. You need obedience. So type this now as a prophetic act. It's already here. 3 words. That's your declaration. Why? Because what you're sensing isn't coming, it has arrived. The stirring, the shift, the sudden push toward holiness, toward stillness, toward separation. It's already in motion. And when you type it, you align your mouth with your spirit. You declare to the seen and unseen that you're aware, that you know, that you feel it, that you are ready. Let it ring. It's already here. Say it with conviction, with fire, with urgency, because when you say it, you stop waiting for an external sign and start responding to an internal summons. And when your awareness matches your assignment, your steps become divine. This is why you've been restless. This is why your old patterns aren't working anymore. This is why you're uncomfortable in circles you used to enjoy. Because God is expanding you, stretching you, preparing you. But first, He must awaken you, and He's doing it by stirring your bones. This is your moment of spiritual quickening. So don't apologize for the fire. Don't silence the trembling. Don't ignore the weight. Feel it. Own it. Walk in it. Because what you're carrying is not ordinary. You are not just part of this world's story, you are part of God's eternal agenda. And the countdown has already begun. The window is narrow, but the weight is eternal. What you carry cannot wait. It must be released now. The clock is prophetic now. Every minute ahead is wrapped in instruction. Every hour carries a weight heavier than time itself. What seems like another day passing is, in fact, a divine countdown. And if you treat this moment casually, you'll miss what has been set in motion specifically for you. This is not about paranoia. This is about precision. God is speaking through the clock, not to pressure you, but to position you. Heaven operates in appointed times. And when those windows open, delay is disobedience. There are moments in your life where the wrong reaction, even by a few minutes, can shift everything. That's what these 48 hours are. This is one of those moments. God is moving quickly, and if you wait for your emotions to catch up, you'll find yourself standing outside of what was meant to be yours. You must understand, time in the kingdom is not measured by routine, but by revelation. The calendar doesn't control your season, obedience does. and this season has just entered acceleration. For some, this means sudden clarity. For others, it means abrupt pruning. For many, it will feel like chaos. But it's not. It's divine reordering, the kind that only comes when heaven is realigning destinies that have been drifting for too long. And you can feel it, can't you? You wake up with an urgency that doesn't match your plans. You sense that something is being demanded of you, but you can't explain it. You hear God's voice more clearly, but the instructions are more uncomfortable. That's because time is compressing, and pressure always comes when you're about to cross into the next dimension of assignment. It is declared in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11, "The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." And wake up, not with panic, but with purpose, because this window won't stay open. You are being watched, not by man, but by heaven. Angels are positioned on your behalf, but they're waiting for your movement. Obedience is what activates assistance. Revelation must be followed by response. Otherwise, it becomes a wasted word. God never reveals something just so you'll admire it. He reveals so you can act. Quickly, completely, without second guessing. Look back at your life. The greatest breakthroughs didn't come when you planned them. They came when you responded in faith, in fire, in raw obedience. And now, here you are again. The Spirit of God is whispering, "Move now." No, don't just mark this as another message. Mark this as your moment. There are things about to close permanently. Doors that were once open to you will not remain open forever. Delayed obedience will make you arrive at a locked gate. And God is not cruel for closing doors. He's just not obligated to keep windows open when warnings were ignored. This is not to scare you. This is to awaken you, because you've been feeling it for weeks. Time feels different. Days feel shorter. Conversations feel heavier. You can't pretend not to notice anymore. You can't keep saying maybe later to divine assignments that require movement now. Even distractions feel louder. Even silence feels significant. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. Heaven is compressing time. That's why what used to take years is happening in days. That's why relationships are being exposed quickly. That's why what once felt comfortable now feels convicting. Because the veil is thinning, the Spirit is speaking with urgency, and the time to obey is not next week, it's now. Don't let your future self mourn a moment your present self ignored. This is not just about what God is doing for you, it's about what He's doing through you. There are people whose destinies are tied to your decision in this window. There are atmospheres waiting for your presence. There are prayers that will not be answered until your feet start moving in the direction God already showed you. So no, this isn't a normal moment. This is a holy clock ticking, and your name is engraved on this hour. Let the Spirit of God speak louder than your schedule. Let conviction be your alarm. Let obedience be your movement. Because what's coming won't wait for convenience. It will only respond to courage. This is not about rushing, it's about rising. Because time is no longer neutral. It is prophetic, and it is calling your name. Delay has a cost. Movement now protects what's next. The spirit realm is not silent. Just because your room is quiet doesn't mean the heavens are. Just because your phone is on mute doesn't mean the war has paused. Right now, above your head, around your home. Within your atmosphere, there is movement, angelic assignments, demonic resistance, supernatural tension, and your name is in the middle of it. Chosen one. This is not imagination. This is reality. The realm of the Spirit is in full confrontation, and you are not an outsider looking in. You are part of the conflict. You've felt it, haven't you? Some moments feel too intense for the situation. You walk into rooms and sense something off. You pray, and the atmosphere shifts. You try to rest, but your soul stays alert. That's not emotional fatigue, that's spiritual sensitivity. You've been pulled deeper, and now you're being made aware. There are wars being fought on your behalf, conversations happening in realms you cannot see. Heaven is pushing back, darkness that was sent to surround you. Angels are intercepting plans that would have derailed your momentum. God has commanded that you be protected, not because of your strength, but because of your obedience. It is spoken in the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 12. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. Lo, from the first day you prayed, heaven responded. But notice this, Daniel's answer was delayed by warfare in the heavenlies, a fight between angelic beings, a spiritual war that had to be won before the answer could touch earth. This is why you must remain alert. Just because you don't see the movement doesn't mean there isn't one. Some delays are not denials, they are battles in transit. And in this hour, those battles are intensifying. The enemy doesn't want your prayer to mature. He wants you to give up before reinforcement arrives. He wants you to cancel your own breakthrough with discouragement. That's why the pressure is growing. That's why the silence feels heavier than usual. It's not absence, it's contention. Heaven is not ignoring you, it's warring for you. But what happens next isn't just up to angels, it's up to you. Because when God starts shaking the heavens, He looks for a response on earth. Your obedience releases support. Your intercession gives heaven legal access to intervene. Your praise shifts the atmosphere for angelic assistance. You must stay in alignment. Your attitude matters. Your posture matters. Even your language matters. What you speak in this moment can either empower the enemy or give strength to what heaven has already declared. This is why gossip drains your strength, why complaining weakens your discernment, why worship confuses darkness and unlocks light. So guard your words, guard your windows, guard your wonder, because you're not just surviving, you are standing in the middle of something cosmic. And while you may feel small, heaven sees your role as essential. This is not just about you. This is about your territory, your bloodline, your influence. When you move in alignment, your obedience creates space for others to encounter breakthrough. Every yes you give God is multiplied in the spirit realm. You are not fighting alone, but you must keep fighting. If this word is confirming what your spirit has been sensing, then pause and share it now. Not for algorithm, for assignment. Someone connected to you is in the same battle, and they're about to give up because they think they're the only one feeling this weight. You carry the reminder they need. And if this message has spoken directly to your situation, don't just listen, respond. Like it. Subscribe if you haven't. And if you're led to support the mission that carries these words forward, you're planting into diviner soil. It's not charity, it's agreement. It's not about the size, it's about the obedience. Because these words are not just information, they are intercession through voice. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are spiritually awake in a world that prefers sleep. And in these next 48 hours, your awareness is your advantage. Every minute is strategic. Don't waste them on doubt. Don't waste them on fear. You are in a war that's already being won, but you must stay on the battlefield, in prayer, in focus, in full armor, because heaven is not silent, and neither should you be. When the invisible is loud, your obedience must be louder. The next move you make carries the sound of heaven's authority through you. The number you're about to type isn't just a comment, it's a covenant. This isn't numerology. This is prophetic agreement. Heaven responds when earth comes into alignment with divine timing. And in these next 48 hours, the number that seals your obedience is not just symbolic, it is spiritual. It speaks on behalf of your spirit. It declares that you recognize what God is doing and that you will not miss your window. Chosen one, you've been walking wounded. Quiet storms, silent cries, internal battles no one could see. And still, you kept going. You kept praying, even when heaven felt silent. You kept sowing, even when nothing seemed to grow. You've been dragging your purpose through fire, through betrayal, through delay, and yet you did not put it down. And now, heaven says, it's time. And it's time to stop wandering in uncertainty. It's time to stop entertaining voices that don't carry his breath. It's time to stop rehearsing the pain of the last season when healing has already been made available. The cycle has reached its end, and what you couldn't close in your own strength, God is about to seal by his word. Completion is not just the end of something, it's the divine signal that something new is being born. You have reached the threshold of transition, but you must cross it intentionally. Heaven doesn't drag anyone forward. You must walk, with boldness, with tears, maybe, but forward, because your delay has expired. There are things God tolerated in your last season that he will not tolerate now. There is grace for your growth, but not for your excuses. There is mercy for your wounds, but not for willful blindness. And so today, a line is drawn. A line between wandering and walking, between partial and full obedience, between knowing and doing, between being around the move of God and being in it. It is written in the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." And that work in you is not dead. It's just been buried under distraction, under disappointment, but now God is brushing off the dust of delay and calling it forth again. Your gift didn't expire. Your calling wasn't cancelled. Your promise didn't die. It just needed resurrection timing. And now, the hour of completion is here. There are divine closures happening even now. Relationships you couldn't let go of, he's removing without apology. Doors you kept knocking on, he's sealing shut. Not to punish you, but to protect what's next. Opportunities that looked like favor, he's stripping them of their disguise because they weren't your assignment to begin with. This is the gift of completion. It ends what should have ended long ago, so that you are free to carry what's truly yours. But here's the truth. Completion is painful, because we mourn what's familiar. Even when it's broken, we grieve what we prayed for, even if it was never God's best. That's why you feel so conflicted in this hour. because your heart is letting go of what your spirit has already outgrown. Let it go. Don't fight resurrection by clinging to the grave. And now, I want you to type this number in the comments: 4,444. Why 4,444? Because 4 is the number of divine establishment and order. But this is not a time for partial agreement. 4 fours is your declaration that this is not just alignment, it's total realignment. Completion upon completion. Foundation re-established. Not just in one area, but across your entire assignment. Type Arbaat Elfim, Arba Meot Arbaim Arba below. Not as superstition, but as submission. You're saying, I agree with heaven. I choose the end of what no longer fits. I step into divine order with my full yes. Oh, when you type it, you're sealing the cycle, not just emotionally, but prophetically, and the enemy knows it. He's been hoping you'd keep the cycle spinning, that you'd stay unsure, that you'd fear change, that you'd mourn the past long enough to miss your moment. But by typing 4,444, you're shutting the door. You're silencing confusion. You're stepping into established identity, and God is about to confirm it. In the next 48 hours, expect the Holy Spirit to highlight where alignment is required. He will nudge you to disconnect from what no longer carries your future. He will speak clearly about the voices you must mute. He will bring peace, not panic, clarity, not chaos. But your part is this: respond, obey, let go, complete the cycle. Because what God is doing next is not for the version of you that stayed stuck. It's for the real you, the armored, awakened, appointed one. And that version is rising now. God's whisper overwrites the noise. In a world that screams, the voice of God often comes as a whisper, not because he is weak, but because he is holy. He doesn't compete with chaos. He doesn't shout over distractions. Instead, he waits for stillness, because only those willing to silence everything else will truly hear him. You've been surrounded by noise lately, haven't you? Opinions, expectations, algorithms, bad advice wrapped in good intentions, voices speaking over each other, pulling at your time, dividing your focus. You've tried to pray, but your mind wandered. You tried to fast, but life got loud. You tried to rest, but your soul stayed restless. And in the middle of it all, God has been whispering. You expected thunder. You expected lightning. You expected dramatic confirmation. But what came instead was a gentle tug in your spirit, a quiet conviction, a still voice asking for your attention, not your performance. That whisper wasn't less powerful. It was more personal. It is written in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. Oh, Elijah knew this firsthand. He stood on the mountain, expecting God to show up in wind, in fire, in earthquake. But the Lord wasn't in any of those loud things. He came in the whisper. Why? Because real authority doesn't need volume. It carries weight without shouting. So does his voice in your life. You've been searching for direction in loud places, but clarity doesn't come from noise. It comes from nearness, and nearness is cultivated in silence, in surrender, in choosing to step away from the voices that have too much access to your spirit. It's time to protect your frequency. God is not obligated to shout over what you refuse to shut out. If you keep inviting every voice into your atmosphere, don't be surprised when you can't distinguish his. The confusion isn't always demonic. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. Sometimes the enemy doesn't need to attack. You're doing it for him by allowing disorder to rule your inner world. Chosen one. Heaven is speaking. But are you still enough to hear? The Holy Spirit has been trying to reveal strategies to you. Warnings, direction, correction. But if your ears are tuned to noise, you'll mislabel wisdom as doubt and conviction as inconvenience. You'll dismiss instructions because they don't feel urgent enough. But God doesn't speak to manipulate. He speaks to lead. That unease you've felt lately isn't stress, it's suppression. Your spirit is trying to rise, but your surroundings keep weighing it down. There's too much commentary and not enough consecration. You weren't made to carry everyone's opinions. You weren't designed to digest noise all day and then expect to hear clarity in prayer. No. The voice of God requires a cleared channel, and it's not just external voices, it's internal ones too. Self-doubt, impatience, insecurity, shame. If those voices aren't silenced, they'll twist what God says until his promises feel like pressure and his truth feels like a threat. That's what noise does. It distorts. But the whisper brings alignment. The whisper doesn't beg for attention. It waits for reverence. And when you make space for it, what once confused you becomes simple. What once felt blurry becomes sharp. The fog lifts. The pace slows. And suddenly, the decisions that seem too big to carry become weightless in his presence, because clarity is a gift reserved for those who value stillness. You've been asking God to speak, but he already has. You just didn't recognize it because you were listening for drama instead of direction. You expected confirmation from a crowd, but he gave it to you in quiet conviction. And now, he's calling you deeper, not with commands, but with invitation. Come away from the noise. Come back to the whisper. There are instructions waiting for you in silence. There are blueprints hidden in stillness. There are answers reserved for those who wait not passively, but intentionally. Your spirit already knows what to do. You just need the space to hear it clearly. This is not about legalism. This is about alignment. God's voice doesn't come to control you. It comes to unlock you. But unlocking requires attention, surrender, and stillness. So pause. Turn down the volume on everything else and lean in. The whisper is speaking. You don't need more noise. You need his nearness. You don't need more advice. You need his word. You don't need to be louder. You need to be lower in posture, in pride, in presumption. The louder life gets, the more sacred stillness becomes. So rest, listen, obey, because in the whisper, clarity returns. And when you move from the whisper, you never move in vain. The attack will come through people. Not all storms come from the outside. Some walk in on 2 feet and speak in familiar tones. In these next 48 hours, one of your greatest battlegrounds will not be in the atmosphere, it will be in your interactions. The enemy is strategic. He rarely sends obvious threats. He sends people, and often not strangers. The closer the person, the more effective the access. The most dangerous attack is the one that feels personal because it is. This is the hour to discern what's truly spiritual, even when it's wearing flesh. The enemy knows how to hide behind human emotions, wounded egos, and seemingly innocent conversations. But don't be fooled. He's not creative, just consistent. He used a serpent with Eve, a friend with Job, a disciple with Jesus. Yes, even Jesus was betrayed by someone he shared bread with. You are not above such battles. This isn't about suspicion. It's about spiritual maturity. You must stop interpreting every connection as covenant. Just because someone has access to you doesn't mean they were sent by heaven. Some are there to test your restraint. Some are assigned to pull you into emotional warfare to make you miss spiritual instruction. And some, quite simply, are distractions in disguise. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16, "I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." That warning wasn't poetic, it was prophetic. You are being sent. Yes, but into contested space. And one of the tests of this hour is whether you can stay soft in the spirit without being naive in the flesh. Whether you can stay loving without losing clarity. Whether you can remain open without being reckless. This is why the Holy Spirit keeps nudging you to pull back. Why certain conversations drain you. Why some relationships feel heavier than they should. God is not trying to isolate you. He's trying to insulate you from unnecessary battles. Because not everyone who smiles at you is safe. Some are spiritual liabilities. They leak what they hear in secret. They mislabel your obedience as arrogance. They can't handle your anointing. So they try to reduce you to who you used to be. And you keep tolerating it out of old loyalty. But hear this. Loyalty to people should never outweigh your loyalty to purpose. If you have to shrink your fire to make others comfortable, you're not in covenant, you're in captivity. In this window of time, the Spirit will expose misalignments. He's not doing it to be cruel. He's doing it to protect the oil on your life. You've been asking for clarity, and now it's coming. But clarity always costs comfort. You will have to distance yourself from some voices, not in anger, but in wisdom. You will have to say no to conversations that once felt safe, but now carry weight that pulls you backward. You will have to resist the urge to over-explain your growth, because everyone cannot go where you're going. You are shifting realms. You are being trusted with higher assignments. And with that elevation comes necessary separation, not from love, but from permission, not from honor, but from access. The people the enemy sends don't always look dark. They come in flattery, in false agreement, in familiar pain, but their assignment is the same. Distract, delay, and derail. Recognize it early. Discern the tone behind their words. Watch the fruit of their lives. Pay attention to how your spirit feels after you speak with them. These are not signs of judgment. They're tools of protection. God never told you to hate them, but He didn't tell you to give them influence either. And remember, the enemy doesn't need to convince them to be evil. He just needs to convince you to be distracted. He wants you emotionally tangled so you don't move spiritually. But this time, you'll respond differently. You won't react. You'll retreat into prayer. You won't explode. You'll examine the pattern. You won't argue. You'll walk away with clarity. Because you've learned that some battles aren't worth the blood they cost. And you've also learned this. Elevation requires evaluation. Who you allow into your space determines how far you rise. And if God is about to open doors, don't let people who were never called to the room hold your keys. Guard your spirit. Guard your silence. Guard your peace. And let God do the rest. This message is not entertainment. It is a dispatch from heaven, delivered straight to your spirit at a critical crossroads. This isn't just another video. This is your confirmation. Something in you already knows. Even before these words found you, your spirit had been whispering, "Pay attention." That soft urgency, that strange awareness, that internal stirring that refuses to quiet down. This is not emotion, it is divine instruction pressing through. God has been calling you in subtle ways, through closed doors, through quiet discomfort, through sudden disinterest in what once excited you. You've tried to brush it off as transition. But this is more than a shift. This is an awakening. The urgency is real because the warfare is real. You've crossed a line in the spirit, and now the resistance is rising. Not because you're wrong, but because you're finally right on time. The enemy doesn't waste energy fighting those going nowhere. The attack on your life is proof that heaven has placed weight on your steps. And now, God is demanding your full attention. This isn't the time to coast. This is the time to lean in. The next 48 hours carry too much prophetic weight for you to be passive. The Holy Spirit is interrupting your rhythm because your calling cannot afford delay. This word didn't find you by chance, it was sent. You've been asking for confirmation, for a sign, for clarity. This is it. Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me." God is knocking, but not just on your heart. He's knocking on your attention. He's knocking on the walls of your distraction. He's knocking on the places you've settled when you were meant to stand. And if you respond now, what's been blocked will be broken open. What's been delayed will be released. But heaven will not force your obedience. God knocks, but you must open. So don't scroll past this moment. Don't downplay the way your spirit is trembling. Don't suppress what's rising in your chest. That's the alarm of heaven. That's your spirit bearing witness. This is the word. And when the word hits your spirit like this, don't keep silent. Speak agreement. Declare alignment. Say it out loud. Now, type these words. I won't miss it. End of 3 words. A covenant in the comment section. Not for visibility, but for victory. Not for a trend, but for a transaction in the spirit. I won't miss it. Because you know this moment isn't normal. Because you feel the weight of something ancient wrapping around your name. Because you recognize that God doesn't speak like this unless the door is open right now. Let those 3 words be your response to every lie that told you you were too late. Let them shut down the voice of fear that said you weren't qualified. Let them silence the doubt that made you question if you were really chosen. You are chosen. You are ready. You are seen. And now, you must respond. There is something in this hour that requires urgency. You won't be able to go back to old patterns after this. You won't be able to unknow what has just been stirred in your soul. The door is open, but only for those who step in, and you don't need to figure it all out. You just need to obey the first instruction. Respond. Not tomorrow. Now, not later. Now, type it. I won't miss it. End of 4. This is more than a comment. It's a declaration over your next season. It's an act of faith that says, God, I hear you and I refuse to sleep through my summons. No, chosen one. The heavens have opened above your life. The alignment you've been praying for is already unfolding. And in these next 48 hours, what you say, What you see and what you do will seal it. You asked for confirmation. This is it. Now respond with clarity, with fire, and with faith. Don't delay. This is not the moment to hesitate. It's the moment to step into the flow of divine momentum. You've waited, watched, and wondered, but now the heavens are watching you. Will you move when the cloud moves? Will you respond when the trumpet sounds in your spirit? What's ahead is not small. It's generational. Your obedience will ripple into the lives of others. This is bigger than just getting a breakthrough. It's about becoming the breakthrough. The deliverance others are waiting for begins with your response now. You won't miss it. And you won't walk alone. You move, heaven moves with you. Armor up. This is not optional anymore. You've heard the warnings. You've felt the pull. You've seen the spiritual tension rising in your atmosphere. And now the Spirit of God is saying clearly, put on the whole armor. Every piece. Every day. Without exception. This is not a season for casual Christianity. It is a battleground. The terrain has shifted. You are not just enduring warfare, you are positioned in the center of it. And heaven did not place you there to be a victim. You are a warrior. And warriors don't walk into battle unarmed. Many are exhausted not because they're weak, but because they're fighting uncovered. You've been wrestling thoughts, wrestling emotions, wrestling delays and distractions. And yet, you've forgotten that spiritual battles are not won through fleshly strength, they're won through divine preparation. The prophet Isaiah thundered in chapter 59, verse 17, He put on righteousness as his breastplate, and the helmet of salvation on his head. He put on the garments of vengeance, and wrapped himself in zeal as in a cloak. Even God himself models spiritual armor. Take that in. The Lord clothed himself for battle. How much more should you take your stand? Not your seat, not your silence, not your surrender. Your stand. Because the schemes of the enemy are not wild, they are strategic, personalized, timed. And if you are walking exposed mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you become vulnerable to attacks that were never supposed to touch you in the first place. You were given armor for a reason, the helmet of salvation to guard your thoughts. The enemy is targeting your mind more than anything else, whispering lies, twisting truth, planting doubt. If your thoughts are unguarded, your vision will blur and your steps will falter. The breastplate of righteousness to protect your heart, not perfection, but righteousness, a posture that says, I walk in alignment with what is holy. Because when your heart is open to compromise, your whole body starts moving off course. The belt of truth, your foundation, not culture, not popular opinion. Truth. Without it, everything else falls apart. The belt holds the rest of the armor together. Lose the truth, and you lose the structure, the shoes of peace to ground you, because chaos is a tactic. If the enemy can shake your footing, he can shake your faith. But when you walk in peace, you walk in unshakable authority, the shield of faith to intercept fiery arrows. Not one, not a few, but every arrow. Doubt, fear, offense, temptation, they all burn out against a raised shield. But a shield only works when it's lifted, not when it's stored. And the sword of the Spirit, the Word, the only offensive weapon in your armor, everything else protects. But the Word fights back. And if you don't know it, you can't wield it. This is not the hour for vague inspiration. This is the hour to speak what is written. You are not dressed in random encouragement. You are covered in strategic power. But armor doesn't put itself on, and it doesn't stay on by accident. You must wake up and choose it daily, because the enemy doesn't wait for your schedule. He launches when you're distracted, when you're tired, when you're scrolling instead of standing, and when you armor up, your posture changes. You stop reacting and start resisting. You stop bleeding for people who were never called to your battle. You stop internalizing attacks as identity. You rise, not in ego, but in authority. This is how you remain unshaken in a shaking world. So if this message is confirming something deep in your spirit, respond, like it. Not because it's viral, but because it's vital. Share it with someone who's been walking uncovered, someone who needs this word like air, someone who's strong, but tired, and forgot they're not supposed to fight alone. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because voices like this are not meant to be random encounters. They are part of your equipping. You're not just called to survive, you're called to advance. And advance takes training. And yes, if you feel led, support this mission. Sow into the ground that's feeding your spirit. You're not buying blessings. You're aligning with what's building heaven's army. Every gift makes room for the word to keep flowing, for the sound to keep piercing darkness, for chosen ones like you to be reminded of who they are. Because you are not average. You are not passive. You are not disposable. You are armored. You are ready. And these next 48 hours demand your full gear. Do not take it off. Do not walk half-covered. Do not underestimate the cost of neglect. This is your moment to stand, with sword in hand, with shield lifted, with peace under your feet and truth wrapped around your core. Let the enemy see you suited in glory, backed by heaven, and completely unwilling to bow. You were not created to cower. You were born to conquer. Now, suit up, heaven is watching. Delay is disobedience in this hour. You've told yourself, I just need more time. You've whispered, I'm not quite ready yet. But heaven is declaring something different. Time is not your issue. Obedience is. Readiness is not found in comfort. It is forged in surrender. And the longer you delay, the more you risk disconnecting from the divine moment appointed to change everything. In this prophetic window, hesitation is not neutral. It's costly. Every minute matters. Every small yes or subtle no echoes beyond your awareness. You are not moving in a vacuum. The Spirit of God is aligning people, places, and purposes around your obedience. The thing is, you already know what to do. God already spoke. He already revealed. He already nudged you, again and again. But you've been waiting for ease, for certainty, for someone to co-sign your movement. And now, what used to be a nudge has become a warning, because the window is narrowing, and grace has an expiration date for those who willfully delay. You've mistaken His patience for permission, but heaven isn't silent, it's waiting, watching, recording. Heaven doesn't just measure your heart, it measures your response. It was proclaimed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Now, but not every season remains open forever. Many people miss their breakthrough not because they're weak, but because they're slow. too slow to forgive, too slow to cut ties, too slow to speak what God put in their mouth, too slow to step through the door they prayed for. And while they're still thinking about it, the opportunity closes and passes to someone who responded with boldness. Delay always feels safer in the moment, but it's deceptive. It tricks you into believing there's more time than there actually is. It lulls your spirit to sleep while warfare is increasing all around you. You don't have time to second guess anymore. You don't have time to keep praying about what God already answered. You don't need another prophetic word. You need prophetic movement. The danger of this hour is not opposition, it's postponement. It's the lie that says, I'll obey, eventually. But eventually is not a seed. Eventually doesn't move angels. Eventually doesn't shake atmospheres. Eventually is the burial ground of obedience. And here's the truth: when you delay, you're not just putting off purpose, you're creating room for interference. When heaven's command isn't followed swiftly, confusion rushes in to fill the gap. That's where doubt multiplies. That's where fear begins to sound like wisdom. That's where disobedience disguises itself as being careful. But this is not the hour for careful. This is the hour for consecrated courage. You've been circling the same mountain for far too long, repeating the same internal debate, replaying the same pain. It's time to exit the loop and move forward, even if you don't have all the answers. God didn't ask for perfection. He asked for movement. Remember, faith is not the absence of uncertainty, it's obedience in the presence of it. You can't claim to trust God while remaining immobile. Trust walks. Trust acts. Trust doesn't keep checking for confirmation once clarity has already been spoken. And you know, when God is speaking, you've felt it. That weight in your chest, that restlessness in your soul, that moment of conviction that stings just enough to wake you up. That wasn't emotion, that was instruction. And what you do next matters. Your delay doesn't just affect you. There are lives on the other side of your obedience. There are souls whose freedom depends on your yes. You've been asking God to use you, but every delay is you telling him, not yet. How long will you keep asking for a purpose you're too afraid to pursue? Don't make God repeat what he's already revealed. Don't ask him to reschedule what he told you was now. You are not waiting on him, he is waiting on you. This moment is a mercy, because there's still time. The door hasn't shut. The window is still open. But it won't be forever. And God, in his love, is confronting your delay before it becomes disobedience that leads to derailment. Don't let fear keep you from the fulfillment you prayed for. Don't let comfort cost you your crown. Don't let pride make you miss your provision. Move even if it's messy, even if it's risky, even if it means walking away from what's been familiar for too long. You're not stepping into darkness. You're stepping into alignment. And when you move, heaven moves with you. You've been praying for timing, and now it's here. But divine timing doesn't always come with fanfare. It rarely feels convenient. It doesn't wait for your schedule to open up or your comfort zone to adjust. When heaven releases an appointed moment, it requires faith, movement, and clarity. And chosen one. Your moment is now. There is a sacred rhythm to the way God works. Not random, not rushed, strategic. And in these next 48 hours, that rhythm is aligning things you once thought were lost. Suddenly, connections will resurface. Suddenly, clarity will overtake confusion. Suddenly, what felt delayed will feel divinely on time, but you must discern the rhythm and walk in it. Timing is not about waiting for perfect circumstances. It's about obeying divine cues. That feeling in your spirit, that holy unrest, that unexplainable pressure to act that's not stress, that's heaven's hand, gently but firmly moving you forward. And yet, the greatest enemy to divine timing isn't the devil, it's distraction. When the enemy can't stop what God has scheduled, he'll attempt to delay your response long enough for you to miss the appointment. He'll stir up emotional confusion. He'll flood your mind with what-ifs. He'll reroute your focus until what was meant to be a breakthrough becomes just another missed opportunity. But not this time. You've matured past that. You've been through too much to keep letting windows close while you analyze your fears. You're not confused, you're called. And now heaven is watching to see if you will synchronize your obedience with his movement. This isn't a random wave. It's a scheduled release. Scripture declares in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." And you waited. You obeyed. And now, what was maturing in the dark is about to arrive in the light. But hear this, divine timing is fragile. Not because God's power is fragile, but because your response holds weight in the process. You can't delay when the cloud moves. You can't overthink when the trumpet sounds. When the Spirit says, "Go," your yes must be immediate. This is why God had to remove certain people from your space. Their rhythm didn't match yours. Their hesitations would have slowed your stride. Their reasoning would have dismantled your revelation. So he silenced the noise and trained your ear to hear him alone. Now, you walk differently. You don't chase trends, you respond to truth. You don't copy what works for others. You step into what was custom designed for you. You don't follow pressure, you follow presence. And in these next 48 hours, heaven is opening specific doors. But each one is time-sensitive. Delayed obedience won't just close them, it will shift your entire trajectory. That's why God is speaking with such urgency. Because you've circled this mountain long enough. Because you've replayed the same fears for too many months. Because you've matured to the point where delay is no longer cute, it's costly. So now, you must mark this moment. And here's how. Type the number 511 in the comments below. Why 511? Because it is a prophetic seal for divine release tied to obedience. 5 represents grace. 11 represents transition. A divine shift. A crossing over. 511 is your decree that you are walking in grace while transitioning with precision. Type it. 511. You're not just agreeing with a message, you're agreeing with a moment. You're declaring, I move when heaven moves. I no longer delay. I no longer hesitate. I walk in sync with divine instruction. And this is not symbolic. It's spiritual. Because the kingdom recognizes agreement. When you type that number, you're placing your obedience on record. You're telling every force that's been whispering hesitation, I choose to move anyway. And heaven hears that. So, go forward now. Watch how things unfold rapidly. Watch how peace follows decisions you used to dread. Watch how alignment starts falling into place, not by your effort, but by divine orchestration. This is your 511 moment. Grace meets movement. Heaven opens. and you step in fully, not late. Not unprepared, but right on time. So take the step. Make the call. End what needs to end. Begin what has been waiting for your yes. Destiny isn't postponed, it's positioned. And it's waiting for movement. Don't question anymore. Don't stall the shift. Heaven has aligned time, grace, and assignment in this hour. And now your obedience unlocks what prayers alone could not. You are ready. You are equipped. And the time is now. God is testing your vision, not your eyesight, but your spiritual sight. He is asking, can you still see what I showed you before the delay, before the betrayal, before the closed door? The silence, the detour. Can you still see it now that it's no longer easy to believe? The enemy has launched an invisible assault, not against your finances or your health, but against your vision. Because if he can't steal your calling, he'll cloud your focus. If he can't curse your anointing, he'll confuse your aim. And when vision is compromised, direction becomes unstable. This is why you've felt foggy lately. Not in your intellect, but in your spirit. It's not that you've stopped hearing God, it's that what you once saw so clearly now feels distant, even impossible. But this is the test. Can you walk by faith when sight is distorted? There is a difference between dreaming and seeing. Dreams are what you hope for. Vision is what you build toward. Dreams are emotional. Vision is prophetic. Dreams give you desire. Vision gives you direction. And right now, God is refining your vision, not just to inspire you, but to align you. We find in the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Another translation says, where there is no revelation, the people cast off restraint. 1. In other words, when vision is gone, discipline dies, purpose loses power. People wander into compromise, not because they are evil, but because they forgot what they were aiming for. Chosen one. This is what the enemy wants. Not to destroy you with one blow, but to wear down your clarity with subtle fog. He wants you to squint your way through your assignment, to guess instead of see, to doubt instead of discern, because when you can't see clearly, you won't build intentionally. And this is a building season. There's something God told you to create. A structure, a system, a platform, a movement. And you started with fire, but now your hands feel heavy. Not because the vision changed, but because your focus has been under fire. You've been under visual warfare, subtle distortion, not full lies, just distractions that pull your attention an inch at a time. He whispers, maybe that wasn't really God. Net, you're probably not ready yet. Net, someone else could do it better. Net, look how long it's taking, you must be off track. N, none of those sound violent. That's the point. They sound reasonable, but they are vision assassins, sent to break your pace and blur your confidence. But today, the Spirit of God is confronting that fog, not with force, but with focus. He's restoring the sharpness to your sight. He's calling you back to what you first saw when you were unjaded, when you were bold enough to believe, even without evidence, when the picture was still raw, but your faith was loud. He's not asking you to see the whole blueprint, just to trust what he's already shown. The test of this hour is not whether you can believe in general, but whether you can believe again. After being disappointed, can you still speak what he said? even though it hasn't happened yet? Can you still hold the picture in your spirit, even though nothing around you looks like it? That's vision. And this kind of vision isn't just imagination, it's intercession. Every time you choose to see through faith, you push darkness back from your purpose. You declare, I will not surrender what heaven has revealed just because I can't explain it. Oh, you were not given a shallow glimpse. You were given a glimpse into eternity. And now it's your job to protect it. That means guarding your eyes. Stop watching what pollutes your spirit. Guarding your ears. Mute voices that contradict what God said. Guarding your thoughts. Take every lie captive before it takes root. Guarding your tongue. Speak life over what looks lifeless. Guarding your rhythm. Don't run just because others are moving fast. Move when God moves. You are not behind. You are not late. You are under refinement. This fog will not last. In fact, the moment you stop adjusting to the blur and start calling on God for clarity, the wind of the Spirit begins to sweep through. And when the fog lifts, you'll realize the promise never moved. You just needed to see again. And you will see again, not with naivety, but with purified focus, with sharpened discernment, with holy determination. Because you're not just carrying vision, you are vision in motion. And no fog of hell can blind what heaven has revealed. Isolation was not punishment, it was training. You didn't lose people. You were separated from them. There's a difference. One feels like rejection. The other is refinement. And the longer you walk with God, the more you'll learn this. Separation is often the first stage of promotion. You've wondered why you had to go through so much alone. Why no one understood. Why your name was left out of rooms you once belonged to. Why people started walking away, or worse. Why you had to be the one to walk away. It felt like punishment. It felt like exile. It felt like silence from heaven. But in truth, God wasn't ignoring you. He was shaping you. There are some things He couldn't teach you in a crowd. Some mantles can't be imparted in public. Some lessons require quiet, surrender, and a breaking that only comes when you've been removed from every comfort zone and forced to stand with nothing but His voice to hold on to. The Spirit-inspired word found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 5, verse 16. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Even the Son of God withdrew, because some clarity can't come through noise. Some power can't come through applause. Some authority can't be developed while you're still addicted to being seen, liked, or needed. So God removed the distractions. He silenced the unnecessary voices. And for a season, it looked like you were losing, but in truth, you were gaining depth. You were not hidden to be forgotten. You were hidden to be forged. The fire you walked through didn't come to destroy you. It came to extract the impurities. You thought the silence meant He left you, but heaven was watching the whole time, measuring your surrender, testing your endurance, watching how you would respond when no one was clapping, when no one was commenting, when no one was calling. And now, what was grown in secret is about to be seen in power. You see, isolation strips away the excess. It reveals what's real. It shows you who God is when He's all you have left. And that's when real identity is born. Not in crowds, not in conferences, in the cave, in the wilderness, in the lonely places where false comfort dies and holy conviction rises. Chosen one. You've survived what most would have folded under. You've endured heartbreak that never made it to your prayer requests. You've kept standing even when your soul begged to lie down. You've prayed prayers that only angels heard, and heaven recorded everyone. And whether you realize it or not, that season changed you. You are not who you were before the isolation. Your discernment is sharper. Your cravings are cleaner. Your threshold for spiritual noise has lowered. You've lost the appetite for surface-level conversations. You crave fire now. You crave truth. You crave the sound of heaven more than the sound of crowds. This is not personality, it's evidence of transformation. And it's also proof that the wilderness wasn't wasted. In fact, it was necessary, because God could not trust you with visibility until He could trust you with solitude. He couldn't trust you to carry His word to others until you learned to hear Him in silence. Public influence without private obedience is dangerous. That's why He kept you back, not to deprive you, but to prepare you. And now, He's calling you out, but not to perform, not to impress, to lead, to speak with clarity, to war with authority, to walk in the kind of quiet confidence that only comes from walking through fire and surviving without applause. The time of training is shifting. The oil you carry now isn't loud, but it's lethal. It's been pressed from tears, refined through prayer, sealed through nights of weeping that didn't end in the morning, but taught you how to worship in the dark anyway. Sonu. That lonely season wasn't a mistake. It was a divine setup. And you were never being punished. You were being set apart. The ones God uses most are often the ones He hides longest. Because when the curtain finally opens, heaven wants to make sure you're not performing, you're releasing. And what you're about to release is holy. It's been soaked in surrender, tested in time, and now, finally it's ready. You didn't miss anything. You were being made. You're not behind. You're being launched. And this next season won't require proving yourself. It will be the proof. You are stepping out, not as who they remember, but as who God refined. Let them wonder where you went. They'll see soon enough. You have to choose your crown. It won't fall on your head by accident. It's not handed to those who hesitate. It's not laid upon the casual. In this hour, crowns are given to the ones who decide, the ones who look at the pain, the pressure, the pruning, and still say, "Yes, Lord, I will rule in the place you've called me to." Oh, there's no more middle ground. The season of hiding behind maybe has ended. You've been tested, refined, and shaped through fire, and now heaven is waiting for your declaration. Will you wear what you were born to carry? The crown represents more than glory. It represents responsibility. You cannot wear it and stay silent. You cannot wear it and still walk in circles. The moment you say yes to authority, the atmosphere around you shifts. Demons take notice. Destiny begins to demand a response. There is no such thing as a passive ruler, and the Spirit of God is calling you to rule. Rule your thoughts. Rule your emotions. Rule your territory. Rule your gifts. Rule your silence. Rule your fire. Rule your assignments with clarity, integrity, and holiness. Because authority without purity is dangerous. And God is not releasing crowns for show. He's releasing crowns for impact. You've been underestimating the weight you carry. You've labeled yourself as recovering, as waiting, as unqualified. But heaven has already shifted your name. You are not a survivor. You are not just getting by. You are a chosen vessel crowned in the Spirit, seated with Christ, and dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. But your crown must be chosen, and chosen publicly. The word of the Lord through the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11, says, I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. This crown is not just a reward in eternity, it is an anointing for now, for impact, for rulership, for releasing glory in every room you enter. But heaven cannot release a crown where there is still confusion. You must decide. Will you still shrink when others question you? Will you still explain away your fire to keep peace? Will you still defer your calling just to stay comfortable? Or will you finally step into authority? Because authority isn't loud, it's settled. And God is looking for those who are done apologizing for being marked, those who have nothing to prove, nothing to protect, just a kingdom to represent. And that's who you're becoming. You are no longer the same. Your silence has changed. Your prayers have grown sharper. Your discernment has outgrown shallow spaces. You've started to feel heavy in rooms that used to feel like home. That's not you losing your way. That's you outgrowing the level you were once confined to. It's time to come into agreement with the new identity God has been shaping in the shadows. But don't just receive this word, respond to it. If this message hits your spirit, let heaven hear your answer. Type these 3 words in the comments. I will reign. Then, because this is more than encouragement, it's a declaration. You are not just surviving, you are rising. You are stepping into rulership. When you type it, you're sealing the moment. You are telling heaven, hell, and everything in between, I accept my assignment. I embrace my crown, and I will not bow to fear again. And if you haven't yet, like this message, share it. Someone connected to you has forgotten who they are. Your obedience might remind them. There are crowns waiting for bold responses, and you could be the fire they need to choose theirs. Subscribe if this message has been feeding your spirit. Don't just listen and disappear. Stay connected to the flow that's activating your next dimension. And if the Spirit leads, sow into this word. You're not giving to a platform. You're pouring into the assignment of awakening the crowned ones around the world. Every seed makes space for the fire to reach another soul on the edge of identity. Because this is not just about you. Crowns are falling in this hour. Not on the proud, not on the lukewarm, but on those who are bowed in the spirit and bold in their obedience. You've cried, you've waited, you've warred. Now, you must rise. Not someday. Now, say it, type it, live it. I will reign. Because kings don't wait for applause. Queens don't ask for permission. The chosen don't ask if they're ready, they move like they are. And the crown only fits those who dare to carry it. You're not returning to who you were. You're emerging as who you were, always meant to be crowned, commissioned, unstoppable, and undeniably chosen. The weight you carry is not ordinary. And that's why your life has never been allowed to be easy. From the beginning, you've felt the pull, the pressure, the intensity that others around you didn't seem to understand. You were marked early, set apart, even when you didn't have language for it. And because of that, the battles you've faced have always felt personal, strategic, and relentless. But they weren't designed to break you. They were designed to build you. What you carry is generational. Your life isn't just about personal success. It's about prophetic assignment. You're not just healing from your own past, you're breaking cycles that have lived in your bloodline for decades. You're not just surviving, you're reversing atmospheres. That's why the warfare didn't let up. Because the enemy knew, if you ever woke up to who you truly are, everything around you would begin to shift. If you ever walked fully in the light, the darkness that's lived comfortably around your family for generations would be evicted permanently. You are the turning point. You are the interruption to what's been recycled for too long. And heaven is not silent about it. God is watching your obedience with great intentionality right now. Because with every decision to forgive, to rise, to believe again, to obey without evidence, you are declaring war on what was meant to live on in your lineage. This isn't about being dramatic, it's about being aware. Your life has weight in the spirit. Your words echo farther than you think. Your worship shakes more than just your room, it shakes roots in the unseen realm. And when you stand up under pressure, you shift things that others couldn't. The prophet Jeremiah recorded in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 10. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. That's what you're doing. Not just trying to survive, you're uprooting and replanting. You are destroying old foundations and building holy ones. You're not continuing tradition, you're constructing transformation. And that's why this battle has felt so personal. Because you've been chosen to carry something that's never been modeled before you. You've had to figure things out with no blueprint. You've had to lead with no applause. You've had to keep standing when no one could see what was pushing you to the floor. But God saw it. He watched you stay faithful when nothing made sense. He saw the tears behind the worship. He counted the prayers no one else knew about. And He honored your quiet obedience in the dark. Now, heaven is responding in the light. Because those who carry generational weight often carry it in silence. They don't look powerful to the outside world, but in the spirit, they are giants. They are intercessors disguised as ordinary, warriors dressed in worship, leaders born in wilderness. That's you. And even if no one else understands the pressure you've been under, heaven does. Even if no one else can see how heavy your calling has been, heaven measures every ounce of it. And God is not wasteful. What you've suffered will not be thrown away. Every moment is being translated into authority. Your pain is becoming oil. Your delays are becoming discernment. Your crushing is producing clarity. Your trials are forging trust. And soon, the very people who questioned you, who misunderstood you, who minimized you, will witness what glory looks like on someone who didn't give up. But you won't respond with pride. You'll respond with power. Because the weight you carry has trained your heart for humility. So stand firm. Chosen one. Don't misinterpret your warfare as punishment. It's proof of your assignment. Don't let the intensity make you question your identity. The storm didn't come because you're weak. It came because you're anointed. There's something in your bloodline that's never seen freedom, and you're the one heaven has appointed to break the lock. That's why you feel different. That's why nothing about your journey has been easy. That's why you can't settle like others do. Because what you carry is rare, and rare oil only comes from deep crushing. But rare oil also carries rare glory. And what's coming in your next season won't make sense to those who didn't survive what you survived. You're not just stepping forward, you're stepping into divine recompense. The fight was real, but so is the favor. Don't let go now. Not when you're this close. Not when your yes is still echoing in heaven. Hold the weight. You were built for this. There is a shift in the unseen, and your spirit already knows it. You've felt it before, words could name it. A deep rumble beneath the surface. An invisible hand rearranging the pieces. A holy tension pulling you from what's familiar toward what's divine. That's not anxiety. That's not fear. That's transition. And you, chosen one, are standing in the thin place between endings and emergence. This is the final stretch, but it won't look like what you thought. The enemy would love for you to believe that your delay is evidence of God's denial, that because the breakthrough hasn't come yet, it must not be coming at all. But heaven moves on eternal timing, not emotional convenience. What you thought was silence was actually strategy. What looked like inactivity was incubation. Because when God prepares a chosen one to rise, He first removes everything that could contaminate their confidence. That's why you've been isolated. That's why people misunderstood you. That's why the opportunities you once begged for had to be shut down. Not because you were unworthy, but because they were unfit for your next dimension. You've grown past the need to be seen. You've outlived the craving to be accepted. And now, you are no longer looking for a platform. You are standing in your posture. What's about to open before you will require full presence, not partial obedience. The places you're being sent into won't tolerate double-mindedness. You can't show up halfway surrendered and expect full dominion. The spiritual weight that's coming demands full alignment, and alignment will always cost you. It will cost you relationships that were convenient but no longer covenant. It will cost you comfort zones that kept your gifting dormant. It will cost you the version of you that you kept feeding just to survive. But in return, you get clarity, fire, authority, wholeness. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This isn't just poetic, it's prophetic. You're not waiting for glory. It's already here. The question is not whether God is moving, it's whether you're standing up to move with Him. So arise. Even if you're still healing, even if you don't feel qualified, even if you're stepping into rooms that scare you, arise anyway. Because light doesn't wait for perfection, it just shines. You've been faithful in secret. You've obeyed when no one noticed. You've guarded the word God gave you, even when everything around you contradicted it. And now, the shift is visible. What you carried in silence will soon be undeniable in the public square. But don't let the visibility tempt you to settle. This is not the time to coast. This is not the hour to drift into comfort now that the pressure has eased. This is the time to build, to rise, to roar. Your voice is needed. Your purity is rare. Your story is marked. And your movement carries momentum, not just for you, but for others. There are people waiting on the other side of your obedience. Souls whose alignment depends on yours. You've been praying for impact. And heaven has been waiting for your movement to match your prayer. You are no longer hidden. You are launched. This isn't ego. It's evidence of everything you've endured, of every delay that developed your character, of every time you cried and kept walking. This final stretch isn't about earning, it's about stepping into what's already been appointed. So don't hold back. Don't apologize for growing beyond your old circles. Don't explain your fire to people who only understand fog. Don't minimize what heaven has maximized. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not random. You are chosen. For this hour, for this battle, for this breakthrough. And heaven isn't hoping you'll rise. Heaven expects it. The throne is not empty, but it is waiting. Waiting for the one who has been forged in silence, purified by pressure, and matured by obedience. Waiting for the one who stopped chasing titles and started carrying truth. Waiting for the one who doesn't need to be loud to be powerful, because their presence carries weight all by itself. That one is you. So stand in it. All of it. The oil, the mantle, the pressure, the promise. You were made for this exact moment, and your next breath could shift a room. No more shrinking, no more delay, no more explaining away your assignment. You are rising with clarity, crowned in fire, and backed by heaven. History is shifting because you said yes. You've reached the end, but in the spirit. This is just the beginning. You didn't listen to this by chance. You were drawn by divine appointment. Because what was spoken wasn't just a message, it was confirmation. God has been speaking to you for days, maybe even years. And this word simply pulled the thread on what's already been unraveling inside you. So now, don't scroll past this moment like it was just another video or voice. If this word stirred you like it helps more of God's chosen ones find what their spirit has been crying out for. If someone you know is in a silent battle or on the edge of spiritual breakthrough, share this. You could be the lifeline that activates their next level. And don't leave without responding. Comment below what hit your heart the deepest, or simply type, "I receive this." Because when you speak agreement, you create alignment. When you type it, you testify, "I heard heaven and I choose to obey." If you haven't yet, subscribe. Stay connected to what's sharpening you. This isn't just content. This is consistent clarity, prophetic direction, and spiritual fire for the road ahead. And finally, if this has poured into you, and the Holy Spirit prompts you so into this word, your giving isn't just support, it's agreement. It's your seed into soil that produces freedom, identity, and divine awakening for others like you. Because you're not a consumer, you're a carrier. You don't just receive fire, you release it. You are not just called, you are chosen. And what's ahead will require everything God has poured into you through this word. Wear it well. Speak boldly. Walk fully. The world is watching. But more importantly, heaven is backing you.